Good morning. Happy September, season 4 of Tuesday Talks with FEO. So excited. I can't believe it's season 4. This particular session is going to be Festivals Helping Festivals, moderated by Marnie Lapierre. Hey, Marnie. And yeah, let's have a great conversation and get our creative juices flowing and information sharing. And yeah, that's it. Dave, did you have anything you wanted to say or just wanted to welcome everybody back? All right. So Dave I don't know if he's still there or not, but okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. Jay's still behind the scenes with the production. So if anything's happening, just let us know and Jay will fix it. Okay, Marnie, we're on. So special event. Any event outside the normal range of programs and activities of the sponsoring or managing organization. This is your definition or a definition you found on this. So yeah, let's go. Does you go for it, girl?
All right. Well, hello and welcome to everybody. I know there's some new names that are popping in. So just to give you a tiny short background on me, I'm located up in Northern Ontario, up in Timmins. I am a certified event planner. I am a Ontario professional tourism industry specialist. I am a certified travel industry specialist, as well as a certified festivals and events expert. I've done a number of courses and I've run a number of events. One is the award-winning Great Canadian Kayak Challenge, and now a newly award-winning the Timmins Multicultural Festival. I sit on the board of Festivals and Events Ontario, as well as Ontario Culture Days, ensuring that there is a tie between festivals, events, and the arts, as well as tourism, because we also know this is a really strong pillar in the tourism industry because people like to travel, but they also like to do things when they travel. So we wonderful professionals, we provide that opportunity for all the visitors to our community, as well as the residents of the communities, depending on the type of festival that you offer. Some are just specifically for the residents, celebrating something locally, and others are to attract in that beautiful tourism revenue, which helps support this part of the industry. So we thought we would launch with special event planning, which is a little bit different than your annual event, but it ties in. For example, we were all around for the Ontario 150 anniversaries that went on a few years back, and some of the events incorporated a special event within it. And that's a whole other kettle of fish when you have your normal parameters of what you normally do, and then you bring in something extra special to celebrate a marker within history, whether it's within the community or within the region or province or even Canada, because we do celebrate some wonderful Canada Days going around. So these take on a whole new strategy to incorporate within your events. Some of you may already be doing a special event, a one-off for this coming year that, maybe because of all the changes that have happened in the last 3 to 4 years, kind of have to take a look at what those changes are and how you're going to positively affect the event that you're looking at hosting. So for those of you that are new to the event planning industry, welcome. For those long timers, I really hope you share your experience with the group because it is needed. There are a few courses out there, but nothing teaches more than great experience when you're hands-on, shoulders bare, ready to go at your event. And I'm sure there's many here that have been there, done that, wrote the book, have the t-shirt and the pin. So let's help each other build these great events going forward for the province. So event strategy, the overall planning of the event, this takes from the concept, when you get the idea, to the wrap up. Having a template or a defined process really helps if you've never done one before. There are templates out there. I did add one in on the email that I sent forward to Jay. I hope he'll share it in the chat with us. And it's just a very simple one from Eventbrite, the event strategy template. If you don't have one, get one, make one. Ask anybody here, because I'm sure there are a number of them, and they're all malleable to your particular needs. And they are a growing living thing, because what you do one year is not going to be what you do the second year. And it'll change within the planning stage and the hosting of the event. We all know that everything on paper changes when you get to the site because there's always something that happens, right? And there's so many moving parts within each event. That's why when you're talking about a special event, that is something that is an animal of a different type, because it's not the same old, well, I should say same old, but not the normal processes that you normally implement. It's going to be something a little different. And having a strategy to help you with your timing and your budgets or your resources definitely helps avoid some of the bigger issues that come along. So this is where I think we can start sharing what has been working for you, what questions you might have of others where, you know, it might be something that you struggle with, whether it's getting those volunteers, whether it's getting staff, suppliers, creative thinking outside the box to engage your audience and your stakeholders, your sponsors. You know, how do you want to make that impactful for them? And, you know, I've also included very basic 7 steps that can help you build a critical path for your event. Now, if you've already had your event this year, I'm sure you have your wrap-up notes and things that came back to you through maybe surveys, suggestions, feedback from staff and volunteers, or even your vendors, food vendors, things like that, that can all be incorporated into it. And having the strategy to outline your goals and objectives, that's going to be something that will be personal to your event, if that makes sense, because each event is going to have something different, whether you're Luminato, whether you're TIFF, whether you're the Timmins Multicultural Festival, all have different needs, different things. But if you bring everybody together and start sharing this information, you'll find that many of the issues you encounter are being encountered by others, and this can be a great resource for sharing. So thank you for coming out today. I say that we should start getting the process going. Who here has an actual special event that you're going to be coordinating this year? And you can do the hands up emoji. And for those of you that have not, that are just doing your regular event, we'll speak to that in a minute. So we've got one that's happening here. Peter, you've got an event, a special event coming up. What is it this year?
It's Ontario Garlic Week.
Oh, the whole week.
We did not put on Toronto Garlic Festival. We are doing a big revamp to our thinking because it's, as a not-for-profit, the costs are just onerous. I've usually, in many years, have personally put money in. Money's the wrong word. It's credit cards. Right? So it's not doable. So we have brought on a financial person to help us rethink the festival for 2024. In the meantime, we are putting on Ontario Garlic Week. So we're inviting restaurants, farmers markets, farms across the province to participate. So on your neck of the woods, in Timmins, for example, there are restaurants there that are serving a dish using local garlic. There's Legions, Royal Canadian Legion branches doing things with garlic. We're inviting a farmer to come to their Legion branch and sell garlic. That's going from September 22 to October 1. And we just launched a map on ontariogarlicweek.ca with the first iteration of restaurants and farms and farmers participating.
Very nice. Very nice. I think that's a great idea. There's a lot of agricultural events that happen across Ontario, especially during the summertime. And it's a great way to network and build that event. And if you need any help in the north, I'm definitely here to help.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll talk after. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Is anybody incorporating a new special event within their existing event? Does anybody have anything to contribute to that, saying, yeah, we're looking at doing something neat and different with the event? Okay, so what you implement towards your regular event can definitely be transferred over to something new if you've got a new aspect of your event that needs a little bit of enhancement. We all know when we're going after grants, they want to see how you're building the event, changing up the programming to keep it fresh and new. So that's part of your strategy and framework, I'm sure, every year going forward. When you sit down to start your strategic plan, what is something that you take a look at in enhancing your programming for the special event? Is there something that you go to every year in order to enhance the programming or the offerings to the attendees? Would anyone like to share something? Hands up or just jump right on in.
So just a reminder, this is sort of a roundtable discussion. We want really your input, your ideas, for you to share with the industry what's going on. If you can, that would be great.
I can always pick on somebody too.
I can suggest something.
Sure.
So one thing that's going on is restaurants are, if you're hosting an event where you invite food and beverage to come and sell their food or beverage, it's really getting harder and harder for them to come to events because they're short-staffed, their costs are going up, there's risks involved in going to events. So whatever you can do to ease the burden for them, and one example of that might be to really think through or curate what food vendors you're going to have at your event, so there's no overlapping. If there's one person selling roasted corn on the cob, maybe you don't want a second. There's some things that are quite obvious like that, but don't just fill spaces. Make sure your vendors complement each other, because then they'll do better, they'll make more money, and they'll want to come back the next year.
Definitely. I can speak from experience when it came to the Great Canadian Kayak Challenge. We only had one food vendor for at the time, which was about 2,000 people in the beginning. And that just definitely wasn't conducive to everybody getting fed in a timely manner, including all the volunteers that operated at the event. So, we did expand into a food court, so to speak. So we ended up with about 13 or 14 different food vendors throughout the festival of different kinds. And we did try to keep it varied so that we didn't have everybody selling hot dogs and hamburgers, that, we had a little bit of different opportunities to try local foods, fusion foods as well, for anybody that had a food truck in the area or wanted to travel north. The invitation would go out. So we packed it to capacity for our particular park, and it did make a bit of a difference in the overall happiness of everybody being there. They weren't relegated to just maybe 3 offerings. Now there was a bit of a difference. So it's a good idea to take a look and see what your feedback is, if you're getting feedback regarding a food court or even a marketplace of sorts. Most definitely. Yeah. Did anybody have any questions this turnaround for the strategic plan? Did you come here with maybe a burning question or some information that you're looking for to help with your specific event that's going on, is in regards to putting out that plan, whether it's your critical path, a Gantt chart, or just a critical path of sorts in itemizing what needs to be done going forward? Anyway.
So I have a question. So I know that you're looking for people who have done certain things. What about is a special event like adding an element? I think this is what it is. So I went to an event in June, and they had a lure course. Would that be considered a special event, or is that just all part and parcel of the event itself? I'm asking that because I'm not doing what you're doing.
In reflecting back on some of the experience that I've had, that would be more in enhancing the programming.
Okay.
There was one year at the event that we were managing that there was 2 anniversaries, actually 3 anniversaries being celebrated in the community. One was a local employer was celebrating its 25th anniversary. And then the Timmins Fur Council and the Ontario Fur Council or Association were celebrating respectively, I want to say 30 and 50 years. So they were given a piece of the property to run their own event on site during our event, so that they were getting the flow through traffic of attendees coming to experience. So aside from learning about kayaking and enjoying the children's activities, the marketplace and the food court, they also were able to learn about the local fur trade, its impact on the community, the various types of furs that were harvested and are harvested. And the 2 fur entities combined together, whereas the local employer created its own little historic tent of their time in the community, and they also added on into the children's activity area miniature mining equipment that the kids could play on. And again, those were 2 different special events happening within our event because they ran it themselves. They marketed their portion of it, and we had very little to do other than ensuring that they had electricity and a spot where they could set everything up. So to me, that would be kind of the difference. If anybody else has any input on that, happy to hear it, 100%. I'm going to pick on the city of Toronto because I know they run a lot of events. Have you ever had the opportunity to combine an event with another one, but they still remain autonomous?
Hi, folks. I assume that's me. My name's Danielle Godet. I'm with the City of
Hi,
Toronto
Danielle.
Event Support Unit. I'm actually not the unit that produces City of Toronto events. My role and my unit's role is to support festivals by being sort of a liaison with the divisions and agencies. So I don't have a lot of familiarity with the events that we're doing from a city produce perspective.
No, that's fine. And you know what? The liaison is such an important role between the municipality and an event, because that's where the organizers usually turn to when they have to incorporate some of the partnership from the municipality. And that can be a lot of juggling other parts of an event, especially if you're adding on to your event with through the strategic plan of adding a special event or creating a whole new one. You know, the municipality, whether you're hosting it on private property or not, it's always good to go and have a chat, because the person who is your liaison is the one that's going to be advising you of what needs to be done when it comes to utilizing municipal resources. You know, say, for example, your event has a parade, it's on municipal property, like, you know, the roadways. You know, you contact them, you deal with the local police. If there's garbage that has to be dealt with, if it's on a municipal property, you're going to be dealing with your liaison. Who do I talk to? Some communities are very small that, you know, you can talk to whoever's the head of that particular department, but some have moved to that one-stop service oriented type communication where you fill in the info of what you need and then they get that back to you. So thank you, Danielle, for that and identifying what you're doing in the City of Toronto. I'm sure you're extremely busy throughout the year as liaison, and thank you for that.
Yeah, it's winding down now, but certainly the late summer and fall festivals are still going strong. And I would say to that, and it probably goes without saying, but you know, a festival that's adding a major new element, special event, get in touch with the municipality and your divisions and agencies as soon as possible to start coordinating that. I think of some festivals that are celebrating an anniversary, and that want to incorporate something brand new, maybe just for that year, or maybe it's an inaugural year to something that is going to be a legacy part of the event, and just get in touch with your municipality and divisions and agencies as soon as possible to find out what's possible, and we can help advise, as you said.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you. So, in creating your successful event strategy, what have you looked at in changing up this year? We all know about the health and safety requirements have changed a little bit. Some venues still insist on having a bit of pandemic recommendations, ensuring that there is hand sanitizer available. Masking, of course, is to everyone's individual preference. So that's, that we're already implementing. But now that the doors are open, we're having events. We've had our first summer that we've been able to go back en masse and start really engaging as a community through your strategic planning of your event that happened this year. Did you have to change something for your special event aside from that health and safety part? Was there something new? Did you find a need to downsize in certain areas, or maybe increase in others? I know, for example, one event that happened in Brampton, they were expecting 2,000 people, 7,000 showed up. And that can create a strain on resources, most definitely. And there was a lot of last minute juggling by the organizer. So having had that learning experience that people are ready to come back and start engaging at events, was there something that came up for your event or your organization over the course of the summer that would be a great heads up for somebody else that maybe haven't had their event yet this year, or are planning a brand new one for next year? Would love to hear something back from the group.
Hi there, I'm Megan. I'm the Signature Events and Youth Program Coordinator for the Buckhorn Community Center. I am fairly new to all of this event planning and fresh out of school, a second career kind of thing. But I do have a few festivals under my belt. We just had our art festival, our Buckhorn Festival of the Arts. We had over 90 artists on site. Basically the same thing. We were expecting around 2,000. We ended up getting 3,000 people through the gates. But this year we did a thing just for inclusivity because of COVID and the rising costs out there. We took away a gate entry fee. We did it by donation only. We are a not-for-profit organization, and we actually did better this year than we ever have, just sheerly for donations. I think people are excited to get back out there. I think they're willing to pay to go do things. They've been trapped for 3 or 4 years themselves. So I just think that's one change that we made, and it worked out to our benefit in the end. We just removed all fees. We just wanted to make sure that everybody could get through the door, and people were more than happy to put in money to enter. So it worked out really well for us.
That's a big change up in your strategic plan for an event, to take that leap of faith on the donations at the door. Our Timmins Multicultural Festival runs that way, because whether you have the cash to attend or not, we want it open to everybody so that everyone has that opportunity to engage in the community. And it is a little trepidatious, because you don't know how generous people are able to be at that time. And you are reliant on that funding to continue the event going forward and pay those bills. And that is great. Did you have much concern from your board or committee when that was brought forward to change from the one type of revenue generation to another one?
Not really. I think they're kind of excited to see a fresh new face. They want to see this is run successfully for 46 years. So this year
Wow.
I did say to them, I don't want to do anything too like change it too much. I want to see what's made it run so successfully. So that is the one change that I did make, and they went with it, and it turned out to work in our best benefit. So no complaints. Everybody was happy. And like you said, you know, if they were passing by from the local beach and didn't have cash in their pocket, they were still able to enter the door. The ones that did come with their wallets, I mean, they were grateful to give it. So the board was great about it. And now moving forward, I think this might be a permanent change. I think they just said, yes, we tend to get more attendance and more, you know, if you don't block them out. So
I have a question or a comment.
Yes.
So I'm not speaking as Toronto Garlic Festival. There was another festival I spoke with a few weeks ago. I won't say their name. They're a major festival, and they're run by like Kinsmen or Rotary or Lions, and they did a suggested donation, and they said their average amount they got from their visitors was 67 cents. So they were really flummoxed by that. And they run their event as a fundraiser. So it's interesting how that didn't work out terribly well, but this program, the Buckthorn Festival, it did work out. And maybe it's because it's 46 years old. It seems that it's more of a community event, and the people in the community feel affiliated with it. And so maybe if you were deciding what should we do that or not, and we thought about that for our festival, you might think about how community centric is your event. Are the people do the visitors really feel part of it, and therefore willing to make a meaningful donation and not 67 cents? So sometimes it would work, sometimes it doesn't, maybe depending on circumstances like that.
I think certainly, and your demographic, yeah, you're right. We do have an amazing volunteer base here of over 300 people in our tiny little community.
Wow.
So this year too, I was big on the marketing and the advertising and sharing it. They never had a whole lot of recognition. It was just kind of put on their monthly calendar, you know, a few little newsletter emails. This year we did radio past Kingston and Toronto, and you know, so I have a saying, if you build it, they will come. So I feel like if you get the word out there, I mean, people come. We had people here from Hawaii, down from the States, that drove up all the way just for the art festival. So it turned out really well in our favor, you know, but I think you're right. You really got to know where you can afford to do that and whatnot.
No, that's very good. Yes, because it's getting that word out there. In the past, for our multicultural festival, it was always simplified as donation at the door, but people were still asking, well, how much is it to get in? How much is it to get in? So we said our suggestion is a toonie. You know, if a toonie, you know, for starting change, and you know, there wasn't any pushback on that. This year we did much better than the year before. Again, people were still very nervous about going out and being in public yet. But this year was a definite improvement. We pushed the donations message where it helps the event plan for next year, you know, because, you know, we have entertainment, we have the stage light and sound and all that. And that is the, you know, the major expense of this particular event. And it was refreshing to see that it was accepted by the community. I think if we had put a $5 minimum, families of 5 would maybe reconsider their decision to go, because $25 is a big chunk out of, you know, the entertainment budget for your kids, kind of thing. So we kept it at the toonie suggestion, did well. Will next year be the same response? Hard to say. It's a thing where it's a nice to have, but if you're reliant on that as your formal portion of your revenue, that's a big chance to take, definitely. So you have to look at other opportunities. If you're incorporated as a charity, you can do the 50-50 draw, or pair up with a charity where they can be on site, run a 50-50 and split their proceed with you and the winner, kind of thing. But that's a fundraising talk that I could go on for quite a bit about. I'm just going to jump over to here. I see Danielle from the City of Toronto responded to Anona Cosmics question. Do you have any advice for contingency planning for outdoor events? We're facing so many more extreme weather events that our rain and shine approach isn't adequate anymore. Yeah, we have found that up here as well. The global warming, I guess, is happening, and we can have a couple of weeks of rain, which can really decimate the what we call fairgrounds. It becomes a big mud puddle. We did have almost like a mud fest last fall because the grounds weren't ready yet, but the municipality went ahead and allowed the event to occur anyhow. It's finding that right time of year that everything works. It's almost a bit of a history to research what the weather is generally like. And, is it a date change that has to occur? Or do you have to look at a different type of infrastructure to support people? Like, if it tends to be a bit of a boggy area, a raised walkway that can be removed, just because I'm not a engineer of any kind, but pallets with the rubber mats across to get people from point A to point B, or moving at locations entirely to be conducive to the event. That's one suggestion I have. Does anybody else have some recent experience this summer, maybe, of where the weather caused a bit of an issue, and what was your workaround for the event? Anyone?
I can say that I get these emails and I'm looking for it right now, but there is someone who specifically works with festivals, making sure that they keep track of the weather. And there is, I think I also read somewhere where you just have to have radio communication with somebody, like, so that what's going on, and their job is to just track that. But there's people you can hire for it. When I find it, I will post it or send it out to you. But yeah, that's something else that I've seen. We've had them at our conference. That was many, many years ago, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Kyle, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to mention for folks on the call who don't know, I'm an entertainment supplier, and one of the things I do is walk around on stilts at festivals. So one thing we do for ourselves, especially with extreme weather, because we do encounter all kinds of weather while we're out there, is I actually have a lightning alert app on my phone, so that if a lightning strike occurs within a certain radius of where we are, I actually get an alert to my watch, which is usually assigned to either keep an eye on it or get down immediately, depending on how close it is. But it's great from also just an event management perspective to understand what your event site is like, how to reach communications to people. I hosted a busker festival, and we had 3 small stages, not a large sound stage that could be heard throughout. So I pre-recorded emergency weather announcements that if people needed to leave the site or seek shelter immediately, it could be played at each of the sites so that it could be heard throughout the space. If you have a more central, like a music festival where your main stage can be heard throughout the event, getting that message out, just having a plan, a pre-recorded announcement, or that your MC takes the stage and asks people to seek shelter. For some smaller festivals as well, I've been in the middle of a show and I've had a volunteer come up to me in the show and say, can you please make an announcement that people should seek shelter? There is a storm coming right now. And, just understanding how it is that your festival functions and how best to get that communication out in a timely way, and assigning who should do it, who makes that call, who, disseminates that information. Having those plans all in place ahead of time is, extremely important.
I absolutely agree with that. At the Stars and Thunder that we had up here, Paul Brandt appeared on the night that we had the worst thunderstorm and lightning. And we were fortunate that on that particular committee, we did have somebody in charge of weather to notify the crowd and to notify the artists and staff and volunteers. And so they moved everybody. A number had left because of the rain, but those that were diehard country music lovers stayed. And Paul Brandt, I just got to say, was a sweetheart. Took his show, made it acoustic, moved it underneath the beer tent where the remaining 300 people were, and gave a soft show for those that stayed. We had health and safety, of course, there with the Red Cross and the search and rescue for the mines. And we actually had to move one little lady who was probably about 91, who was there specifically to see Paul Brandt, who was caught in the rain, got a chill. She was not leaving until she heard him play. So they brought her under the tent, all wrapped up in her blankets and everything. And he got that experience. So sometimes the rain brings a little silver cloud if you have a good plan where you can notify everybody what's going on. And, if the artists are, a little bit giving, it's a great way to make things a little bit nicer when you can, safely so. Go ahead, Kyle.
I also just wanted to quickly mention, it sounded great that I think Megan, you mentioned that your event maybe got more people than expected. I did talk to one event this summer that was going to be hosting their event for the first time. And they were looking at their budget and they thought, well, we actually have the library, around our site. Maybe instead of renting porta-johns, we could just use the library. And I quickly cautioned them to please not do that. There's certain areas you don't want to skimp on. And, lavatories are one that you want to always plan on having more. So, in your, maybe it's not your crisis management or emergency planning, but just leaving that room for certain things, like you don't want, I don't know if anyone watched that Woodstock documentary on what happens when you don't have enough lavatories or sanitation in place for an event, but yeah, don't want that to happen.
That's true. There are porta potty calculators on the internet for event planners. So if you're not sure, you can go ahead and take a look, and you just Google search it. There are many companies that provide that for you. I am always of the opinion more is better, and some of them might be overshooting what you really need, but it's a good way to start that particular planning portion of the event, what you're expecting and what happens. For example, the one in Brampton, they were expecting 2,000, they ended up with 7. That was a bit of an issue when it came to the porta potties. Dave McNeil from FEO, the CEO, you have your hand up. And you may have to unmute, sir. Or he's away from his desk. I don't know.
Hello.
Oh, there
Hello.
he is.
Can you hear me?
We
Sorry,
hear you now.
I'm having real problems here. I'm just thinking about the weather situations as well. The other thing to really keep an eye on is your insurance policy, because your insurance policy will probably dictate exactly the steps you have to take at each levels of, whether it's a weather watch, a weather warning, or a weather disturbance on whether you have to evacuate your site and everything like that. So make sure that, in your insurance policy, you have those weather updates. And as you're meeting to discuss weather, and I know I see in the chat some talk about the different platforms being totally different. I know I'm a boater and I can have 5 different apps open with 5 different weather forecasts, which seems bizarre, but yeah, so just keep in mind what your insurance policy dictates, and a lot of times, it's going to give you the rationale for evacuating a site or canceling your event.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know when the Tragically Hip held their last live to air concert in Timmins, we held a free viewing of it so that, you know, the community could participate en masse. We had about 250 people. And just as the show was starting to air, a major storm moved in, and we were counting. Three of us had different weather apps. We were watching, you know, how close was the lightning going to get? Were we going to have to shut it down? We did end up shutting down the stage. The tent remained up, just because at that particular time it was the safer place to be. The storm did pass. Sound cut out right during one of the songs, but tragically, hip fans being what they were, carried on the singing until the sound came back on. So they're these little things of having, you know, at least three people, if you can track the weather. There should be one person to make that call to cancel out within your committee. There are, you know, like I said, there's different apps that you can track that with. You can work with your local service providers like your EMS and what have you to let them know what your plan is. You know, there's a very, very important part of that when the storms come through. There's also the important part of when the weather is ridiculously hot, and then you're dealing with heat stroke, exhaustion, hydration needs, you know, all part of that planning for that health and safety part of it. Definitely has to be looked at, because we are encountering different weather now than we ever have before. Last summer, I did a lot of traveling with a traveling exhibit, and it was all outside, and it was probably the hottest summer I've seen since I was a child. So it was a thing that had to be implemented into our daily plan. Hydration has to be done. Do we have ice on hand? Do we have an EMS force that's there that can deal with the people that might keel over from the heat or require hydration or treatment of some kind? So, you know, you've got the various extremes, and we haven't even hit winter yet. So that could be a whole another point to discuss. Kyle.
Yeah, just to add to what you were mentioning, it's like I usually put it more to clients in seasons that will more likely face it. But many things like entertainment have kind of an upper and lower threshold of temperatures that they can perform at. You know, because like even Labor Day weekend became unexpectedly hot. We were at Toronto Busker Fest, and that was probably one of the hottest Toronto Busker Fests I've ever been part of. And we were kind of reaching that upper limit. We weren't quite there yet, but we had to just kind of take into consideration certain things. So it's great to keep in mind how, like with entertainment or with inflatables or with, you know, whatever you have on your site, that certain things may be affected by certain weather elements. They can continue in rain or ice or snow, and to communicate that with each of your suppliers or whoever is in charge of managing those elements.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Peter.
Yeah, something I noticed in some weather forecast websites is they might say in the hourly forecast, over the course of the day, each hourly forecast might say 15% chance of precipitation. And then if I look at the percent if over the whole day, if I just click on like the whole day time frame, it'll say maybe 40%. And so that's significant to know, because at any given time, maybe it's only 15%, but over the whole course of the day, there's a 40% chance of rain. So that's a good thing to think about if you're worried about turnout or things like that. Maybe it's just going to rain in one of those time periods and not over the whole day.
True.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I heard this from a meteorologist once, is that when you see the percentage, like the 15%, it's not that there's a 15% chance that it will rain. It's that there's a 100% chance that 15% of the coverage area will get precipitation. So it's, you know, I think that we use it as like a likelihood that it will rain, but I think it's like there will be precipitation, but on a certain part of the coverage area. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I did hear that once.
Okay.
I think that would be a great topic at some point in the future to discuss specifically weather planning, and if we could bring in a weather specialist who can really educate us on it, because that is true. And Kyle, I've heard that myself somewhere, and it might have been at a past talk that we've done, that this was the case. It's going to rain over 50% of the area. Exactly where we're not sure, but it's coming. That's why I love the radar on my app, where I can see where the clouds are, because sometimes we're right in the in between of the two bands of bad weather. I watch that like a hawk, even on a good day without an event.
So I put in, that's a great idea, to get a speaker. So it would be a separate session to
Yeah.
festivals helping festivals, but I'll look into it. Yeah.
That would be great. That would be a really interesting one. Definitely. So where are we at? Oh, 15 minutes left. Oh my goodness. Does anybody have any questions that have come out of the discussion that we've had today so far? Because we've covered a lot, in strategic planning for special events, there's a lot of ground to cover. And, it is something that starts the day after the event that you've held going forward. That's when we start, all the implementation of the survey suggestions or staff suggestions that have come through, or your own personal experience of running an event. Because again, what we have on paper never happens when we run the event. There's always going to be some craziness, and I'm sure we could all contribute and create the most incredible book for up and coming event organizers. But before we start to peter down for the day, I just thought I'd throw it out there to anybody. When it comes to strategic planning, for example, we haven't talked about volunteers and staffing and assessing those needs, and maybe getting caught a little short. I'll be honest, I overbook my volunteers, so that when life happens and somebody falls off the roster, I've got somebody already there ready to roll in and train. But just wondering if there's something in your strategic planning that you'd like to look at for your volunteer management portion, if you've come down a little bit or something. Megan, got your hand up.
So at the BCC, we have all these volunteers. God bless them, they're amazing, but they are getting up there in age. They've reached 70, 80, some of them are 90, and they're still here doing things, which is fantastic. But before me, they never had any youth programming in, and I think it's very important to plan futuristically, to get those youth in and get them volunteering, and then they're the ones that return for their high school volunteer hours. Those are the ones that are going to be moving forward, the ones that we're going to be counting on eventually. And then I did my placement here, so maybe when they get to college or university, they'll come back. We need to really think about incorporating the younger generations as well. Like I said, I'm super appreciative for all the volunteers we have, but without that continual growth from the youth, I think that's where it starts. You have to get them while they're young.
I agree 100%. I come from a not-for-profit background, and back 20 years ago, we were starting to face the grand retirement of the boomer generation, who were retiring and then retiring from volunteering. And there's a significant gap. Yes, bless the high schools for allowing us those 40 hours if you can get them from their students. But when those 40 hours are done, they're going off to post-secondary. So how do you keep them engaged for your summertime event to bring them back? Or for your organization, throughout the year, how can they help? How can you make them a long-term member with you? And creating that legacy of legacy planning, so that as each level of the generations retire out, lose interest, move away, to fill those gaps. Because right now we're seeing a lot of two-income households where the kids are done their 40 hours, they're great, they themselves don't have the extra time to commit. So there is that gap. So it's developing that relationship, nurturing it, and keeping them engaged, not just calling up 4 weeks before the event each year saying, hey, we need you back. How to, what's working to keep them there? Are we doing the recognition post-event, the reach outs throughout the seasons, and I've done this where I've sent out quirky little emails at Halloween. Oh, it would be so spooky without you next year. Hoping you're keeping us in mind as one of our events. Would love to hear some feedback from you. And then of course, Christmas touch point, and then the January, all right, we're doing this kind of thing. So it's a great opportunity right now to think about those legacy plans, because you have your lead volunteers and staff that have all this experience, and it's knowing what they're going to do when they're ready to go. Do they have somebody that they could suggest already within the organization or outside? They're your greatest resource for your volunteers, because like finds like usually, So I ramble. I'm sorry. I'm passionate about the volunteer development portion because that's a lot of what I do. So Peter.
We've worked with a couple of colleges over the years who run event programs. So we've talked to their professor or a teacher in that program who's then recruited their students for our event. And that's worked well. Not always. You still kind of need to vet the students, but that's a great way because they're more invested in it because they are studying events.
Yeah, it's true. It's almost like when you're looking to fill a lead role, you want to have that that individual fit the role. Like, there's the simple roles, of course, the greeters handing out whatever, but other roles require a little bit more talent, and it's finding those that want to learn it or already have those skills that are transferable right into the role. And it's a bit of a work where you have to develop that, or have somebody within your organization able to develop it.
We've actually kept notes. Our volunteer managers kept notes on which volunteers were really good and suited to their tasks, so that we could assign them next year to the same thing.
That's perfect. That's perfect. All right, 8 minutes left. I saw that Debbie shared within the group chat about the Event Safety Alliance Canada conference, which is this October. I've added in the link to it. If you're in the Ottawa area, October 26th to 27th, it's a great resource, whether you become a member, and even if you're just a member virtually, there's a lot of great learning tools there. At the conference, even more so, because you have access to a lot of the experts for events. If you've not explored the Event Safety Alliance of Canada, it's a great time to start thinking about it, because the planning process is starting to happen for next year. It is September. We've got 8 months for launch for everything, sometimes less. And what else?
So I just wanted to note, if you're a paid member of Festivals and Events Ontario, there is a discount to go to that event as well.
Awesome.
Just let you know, and reach out to me. I'll give you the promo code.
Excellent. So Peter, you have something else? Your hand's still up.
No, my hand was still up from before.
All good. All good.
I'll put my hand down. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I'll open the floor one more time to any questions, comments. Nothing. Okay. So, thank you for coming out today. I just want to remind everybody the conference is coming up next February. This is a great resource as well to communicate with the industry face to face, get to meet and greet with some of the suppliers from the industry back at Niagara Falls, I believe, right, Deb? Yes.
Yep, Niagara, Marriott on the Falls.
Married on the Falls. It's always good to take advantage of those early bird registrations once they're open. It's a cost saving and a learning opportunity experience. I have to tell you, I've been involved how many years now? And I've gone to all of them since I've been working, and I have not walked away without having brought something back that I can implement within the organization, and some great connections as well. I can't speak enough about it. It's just so good. That's a whole other topic for a day.
Really is a great networking event as well. I mean, you end up with lifelong friends, resources, and information.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get to meet people like Marnie and Kyle and Anna and Peter and Megan, all of you. Regina's been there once or twice as well. So yeah, great event. And everything's online. We're pricing and everything is all ready to go.
There you go. Megan.
Do we know the exact date of that?
Oh yeah, it's September. Oh no, sorry.
You said February, but
February, I think the 26th to like that last week of February. Very last week of February. Hold on a sec.
Oh.
Now, I'm just caught off guard now. February 26th, 26th, 27th, 28th.
And it's coming up
Perfect.
faster
Thank you
than
so
we
much.
can think.
And the hotel rates are really really reasonable. I mean, 124 and 144 a night. I mean, you're not going to get that in Niagara Falls. You're not going to get that anywhere, really. So yeah, they're taking really good care of us. So, and we're looking at pre-conference session as well on the Monday. So yeah, just keep an eye out for it, and we're posting everything online. Everything's up on that we have online right now. So
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. It has been a great return to the monthly sessions. I've enjoyed learning from you, and I hope you're able to come away with this. And if there's any questions or something, is fermenting as you go about your day and you have questions, reach out to us at FEO, and we'll get answers back to you. If we don't know them ourselves, we'll find somebody who does.
thanks, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Definitely. Bye now.